that we were going to become the fastest growing token on Pump Fun ever. Number 3, thou shalt work for your bags. Number 9, thou shalt take initials at 4x so he can remove himself from fear and be a faithful servant. You think that like I'm just some crazy actually cultivating like some insane chicken fish worshiping cult.
Hi guys, and welcome to What's the Meta. I'm your host Ryan S. Gladwin, and we're here with Pastor Kelby, the man behind the Church of the Smoking Chicken Fish, a meme coin that has turned into an actual church and has an all-out religion based around a smoking chicken fish. How are you, mate?
I'm good. Good to meet you, Ryan. I'm glad to be here, and I appreciate the invite.
You guys are registered as an actual church, and that's sort of the reason why I came across you guys. Could you explain what that process was like, and why did you do it?
So when we first started, there was a bunch of people asking us if we were just LARPing or not, and I happen to know how to set up a business pretty well. It's not that hard of a process, and I said to myself, I don't want anyone to have a reason to tell me why this isn't real. So I went and did the registration documents and got that squared away. That way nobody could ever call us a LARP, you know what I mean?
Did you have any kickback throughout that whole process, judging that, I guess at that point, you were mostly a meme coin rather than a religion?
Yeah, I believe so. At first, there were a few people that called it sacrilegious or blasphemous, and there were a few people that were asking me questions like, well, can we still worship what we worship? And we have a really strong bylaw at the church about whatever's your business is your business. So that really helped sway people over, because I don't really care what you do in your personal life. I'm just here to make sure that we leave you better than we found you.
With that kickback, did you have to sort of adjust what you were doing as a church, as a meme coin? How did you change the way you were behaving?
Well, no, the way we came at it from the beginning was very inclusive. Our goal is to have these daily church sermons and to inject positivity the only way we know how into the Web3 space. So from the very beginning, I wasn't really like worried about the naysayers, because I knew that the universe had our back because we were doing something good for the world, or at least trying to. You know, and any naysaying that they had simply was solved by one of our bylaws, which again is whatever's your business is your business, you know?
I guess, where does this idea for the Church of the Smoking Chicken Fish come from?
There's a guy that speaks about cults a lot on Twitter, and it got me thinking over the course of like 3 weeks or so. There was a sticker pack called Solana Green Room, where the actual smoking chicken fish comes from. It actually comes from a Reddit post from 12 years ago, but I saw this smoking chicken fish and I said, that's the one. That's the meme that needs to be made. And I was like, but how do we make it deeper? How do we make it more than just smoking chicken fish? And it clicked. I was like, wait a second, let's do the Church of the Smoking Chicken Fish. And so I got to work writing the 10 Chicken Commandments. Once that really came into like fruition, it kind of just took off. People loved it.
What was that? The 10 Chicken Commandments. What are the most important ones? I guess maybe you don't want to rattle through all 10 right now, but what are the most important ones that sort of really represent the church?
So the ones that people hear the most, or that say that they're their favorite the most, is probably number 3, thou shalt work for your bags. Number 9, thou shalt take initials at 4x so he can remove himself from fear and be a faithful servant. And of course, the family favorite, number 6, thou shalt only smoke Marlboro Reds, because you know that's just how we do around here. You know what I mean? Marlboro Reds are nothing.
So what happens if someone smokes Marlboro Gold, for example?
To be honest, whatever's your business is your business, but it's better not happen while we're at church.
Are there any other philosophical theories or moral rules that people at the church need to follow?
It's not like a need to follow thing necessarily. Listen, I was just blessed when I was younger. I was a door-to-door salesman for like 12 years, okay? And towards the end of that, I was like a sales trainer for a big Texas energy company called TXU. What I learned there, more so than anything, were these books that one of my bosses gave me. Books like Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Science of Getting Rich, The Magic of Thinking Big, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. These were all books that greatly influenced me as a human. During the church sermon that we handle every single day at 8 p.m. Central on the main Twitter, all we're doing is reading from these books, and then I'm asking them what their opinions are, and we discuss it. Some have said it's like a meme book club, but the way I see it is if it changed my life, what can it do for others? You know, so like some of the stuff we've been reading is like, there's a book called The Greatest Salesman in the World, and in it there are these 10 scrolls. We've been reading from those as well. Really, any like self-development, self-belief, human development we can disseminate through the church. That's what our goal is.
So are those your sacred texts?
You could say that, sure. Yeah, I think that to be a master disciple of the chicken fish, you've got to be able to understand all the tenets in all of those books. And it's pretty simple, man. It's like belief in self, not living in a PvP environment, understanding that it's player, pump, player, you know, shout out to Meow and Jupiter. In this world, we've got to provide value to each other in a way that helps humanity, or else we're liable to eat ourselves alive.
As you guys are a religion, I was wondering if I could rattle off a few philosophical questions that I'm interested in where you guys fall on. How was the universe created?
I could say something funny, but to be honest, what God's business is probably not our business, so we don't really concern ourselves with that. God said, let there be chicken. I don't know.
But by God, is that the smoking chicken fish you're referencing?
His name is Lord Fishnu. He is the one true God. Anytime I say God, I'm talking about Lord Fishnu, yes.
Do you know how they obtained a photo of God?
Well, you see, it's not necessarily that they obtained a photo, but he self-imposed his image upon a camera roll. And that's kind of, how it happened.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So what happens after death?
Honestly, if we had to talk about that, which we haven't, I would say that it's probably something around reincarnation, where each time you iterate yourself here, your goal is to become better or at least fix the mistakes last time. I'm not sure that I believe or that we believe in heaven and hell, because the real goal of ours is just to improve the lives, skill sets, and abilities of the people that interact with us on a daily basis. Like, I'm not here really to push a religion down your throat. I'm here to give you religious infrastructure that manifests itself as the development of one's person.
If you're reincarnating, what is the ultimate form that you can reincarnate to? Is it a smoking chicken fish?
Smoking chicken fish, specifically a Marble Red smoking chicken fish, is the epitome of life on this planet. If it was not for Lord Fishnu and the 10 chicken mammoths, I would be lost. Most of what we do doesn't seek to give a person profit. It's not to make you successful. It's to help you remove from yourself failure. And that's why most of what we talk about is like, thou shalt, like for the first chicken man, thou shalt hold so he is richer than thou that sold. Gambling addicts jump from new pair to new pair to new pair like it's going out of style. That would be number 2, thou shalt not covet another man's mean, right? Everything that we teach just hopes to remove from the space a little bit of the gambling addiction and put in its place a little bit of base level information or education on how to be a trader, and for that matter, how to be a better human.
And what is the purpose of life?
To experience to its fullest capability a human's desires. Like it's success is often defined as 50 different things, but failure is defined as one, and that's man's inability to reach his goals, whatever they may be in life. So what we seek to attain is knowledge enough to get everything we desire within reason.
How do you think Lord Fishnu looks down on the human race currently? Are we on the correct path, or are we a people that need fixing?
Let me be clear here for a second. I don't know if you think I have like a temple to a chicken fish god in like my bedroom or something, or if maybe you think that like I'm just some crazy actually cultivating like some insane chicken fish worshiping cult. But there's a Trojan horse happening here with the memetics and shock value of our Lord Fishnu, combined with like the insider like delivery of actually good information that nobody wanted to hear from me before I had a smoking chicken fish talking about it. When it was just me talking about this shit, people wanted nothing to do with it, right? Because it was a man talking to the man. But whenever Lord Fishnu spoke the word, all of a sudden everybody, it made sense, and then we were this thing. So like, to be clear here, although I appreciate the questioning and I appreciate you believing that I might actually be some crazy occultist, this is a way for me to better the world in a way that's both funny and educative. So like, I'm not crazy or anything, for the record.
Okay, yeah. I'm with you. So tell me then, what are your personal favorite teachings that you've been doing in these sermons?
I would say, okay, so the law of set point. It says a person can only be 10% better or 10% worse than the average of a grouping in which a person chooses to be a part of. So you've got to be real careful when you get in your groups who is a balloon and who's a weight on that balancing act. And you've got to learn to remove from yourself weights that would seek to tear you down and cultivate or curate the balloons that lift you up. Another big one is the law of the lid. It says that like a jumping tick can jump, like if they were the size of a human, they'd be able to jump over the Empire State Building, right? But if you grow one, if you let one be born and stuff inside of a mason jar, it'll only ever be able to jump as high as that cap is, even when you take it out. Okay, that's called the law of the lid. A person's capabilities or full potential is only possible when you believe you can. Most people think that challenges or obstacles in their life are like trying to jump over the Grand Canyon, but in reality, they're about the size of cracks in the sidewalk outside. But we don't ever believe that enough to try. Most of what we're about is trying to empower people with what to the rest of us seems obvious, and kind of just removing belief barriers from people. I think that this world has a big lack of belief in self and a lack of love. So I think that's the foundation of where we come from, or where what we teach comes from.
And why do you think these teachings are more digestible to someone when given this smoking chicken fish veil?
Well, first and foremost, our Lord Fishnu is all powerful and he sees everything. So I can't speak on exactly how his magic works. I'll say psychologically it's because people want something to believe in, and it's really hard to believe in man. It's even harder to believe in a crypto man. for that matter. Having the information presented in a neutral manner from Lord Fishnu, the one true God, in the name of the chicken, the fish, and the holy cigarette, Ramen, I think that it gives them a way to palate and make an easier decision than having to put it through a bias of, do I trust this person?
How much of your, or like what percentage maybe, of your community actually engaging with this sort of self-help, these texts that you're referencing from? Or is it the majority of people are just sort of in on the chicken meme?
I really believe that if there was no token, 60% of the congregation would still show up every day, because we don't talk about in group chats, we don't talk about in DMs, we don't talk about on at church every day anything about tokens, price, or chart. In fact, that's been my goal from the very beginning, was to make this about something more than a token, so that when things were down, the mentality would still be the same. So I would say about 60% of the people that engage with us daily, which at this point, I mean, our average post gets 150 likes, 50 shares, 50 comments at this point, and that's 3 weeks after being made. I'd say about 60% of our total audience gets it. I even have one guy, he's starting to read the books to his kids, and his kids are like talking about, oh, praise the chicken fish. I'm not sure how healthy that is. I would not do that, guys. But I mean, it is funny.
Yeah,
it is funny.
It is funny. Yeah, probably the first ever kids to be raised as disciples of the Church of the Smoking Chicken Fish.
Please don't smoke, kids. This is not in any way conducive. I do not condone smoking. Please just be healthy.
Yeah. Maybe we need to get an alternative to Marlboro Reds for children.
The owner of Wall Street Bets posted the other day, he was like, this is a travesty. He went to pick up his kids from school, and they were mad at him because they started trying to smoke Marlboro Reds. And then he was like, I can't believe that this school discriminates against y'all are religious persecutionists. And we were just like, oh man, that's terrible. Yeah, y'all got to be more free, open-minded.
Take me back to the beginning of the church. We briefly spoke about this over DMs, but imagine I know nothing. How did this all begin?
Me and a friend of mine, I say a friend, he was a loosely acquainted person. We had started it. He deployed it. We ran about it. They didn't really believe what I was into. They didn't really think that what I was doing was to make a difference, and they were just kind of iffy about it. And when we got to about 700K market cap, he had, because in .fund in the initial buy, that's when you're kind of supposed to buy the team supply. He held on to 1.3% of my supply, and he dumped that and all of his and kind of just went rogue. And so it left me at a 700K market cap wondering what I'm doing. Because I had no token to this point. Do I keep going to prove a point? Do I let it go and just say, fuck it? I mean, excuse me. But what do I do? I thought that there were so many good people that were there already that I didn't want to let these people down. We were really on a momentous roll, and I figured that something would work out towards the end to where I would end up, making money too. But at that point, I changed my intention from making money to proving a point, and that's what I set out to do.
So when you started with this friend, acquaintance, however we want to categorize them, did you start with this whole philosophical idea of using the Church of the Smoking Chicken Fish as a Trojan horse to push your teachings onto people?
So first off, I'm not sure if I like pushing my teachings onto people as an expression. No, at first it was a joke. It was just a joke, and it still is kind of just a joke. But I think that while we have this mind share and this attention, while we sit here being blessed with social influence, the greatest thing I could do to give it back to the universe would at least be to disseminate positive, educative things. As a herald of influence, I'm trying to be responsible.
Yeah. I mean, there's thousands of meme coins that are popular and have no real meaning behind them. I mean, Dog with Hat is literally a dog with a hat.
I don't want to talk about Dog with Hat. God bless them and Mahir and that entire organization. Without them, we likely wouldn't be where we are. Now, let's look at something else, a different one. Sure, you're right. They have no purpose. Dog with Hat is, in fact, a dog with a hat, and we can't ever argue with that. I mean, I'm sorry. Dog plus hat equals dog with hat. I don't know. There's no math that makes sense other than that. But all the other meme coins that have no purpose, you're 100% right. That one specifically, I don't want to talk about.
Is that one of the 10 Commandments?
No, I just have a lot of deep-seated respect for those guys, and they're this market cycle's winner, obviously, and I'm really proud of them, and I just would rather not compare us to them. In fact, that's something that we like to talk about in the group chats and stuff, is that we don't compare ourselves to anyone, because there's been no meme coin yet get this much attention off of a value proposition of education. I can't think of one that's used their platform the same way. So there is no competition, because you take the token away, and most brands that are created from a token cease to exist. Ours doesn't.
So when did that idea come into play? When did you decide that you were going to attach this value proposition to it?
It was whenever I sat there thinking about what I'm going to do after all my 1.5% was gone and I had no tokens. And I said, okay, well, how do I make this valuable for me even, right? As the pastor, how do I make this how do I make this worthwhile for me? And I decided if I can even make the culture of Web3 2% more positive, then I've accomplished something worth talking about. And that's what I set out to do. And that's how every day I judge myself. Like, have what we've done made an impact on people's lives in a positive manner in culture, not necessarily in pricing or whatever.
And how was that first received when you first did the sermon, or you made a post where you started speaking more about the teachings? How was that received by your community?
At immediate first, it was people calling me a lark and saying, oh, you're just using that to whatever. But it's been like 25 days of a different sermon every day, and I've kind of like shown at this point that either I'm a grifter here for the long run, or I'm coming with it straight. I obviously would fight that I'm coming for it straight, but over time people have started just to see that, like, okay, he's serious, and maybe we should take him serious too. And I think the legal paperwork really helped with that. Once I had posted proof, you can go to our Twitter. There's posted proof of the IRS documentation and the Secretary of State documentation. At this point, this is a real church. There's no getting around it, you know?
Yeah, definitely. How is your vision that you first had in that moment? How is that vision playing out? Is it going as expected, or is it going better maybe?
I had no idea that we were going to become the fastest growing token on Pump Fund ever. The fastest road to 100 million ever. We were at 137 million market cap in 13 days. There's no way I could have prepared for that. There's no way I could have in a million years told you that people were going to respond so well to positivity. Given my notion of the market and notion of the culture, I would have figured this was going to be an uphill battle the whole time, and it really hasn't been. It's been pleasant for the most part. I'm a little overwhelmed at times, but I think every founder should be. It's if you can't handle the grit, then you don't deserve the good shit.
How has it changed your life?
It's made me responsible for over 1,000 people every day. I feel like it's put me in a position where I feel valued and respected by a community of strangers on the internet, to the point where, like, every day I'm like writing curriculums and lesson plans for like 2 weeks from now. It's given me a platform to stand on and talk my shit, so to speak, in a way that makes me feel alive every day. Like, I like teaching. I want to be a motivational speaker one day. I want to be somebody that actually gives back to the world in that manner. Because I think a lot of times the only thing people are missing is someone to believe in them and convince them to believe in themselves. And beyond that point, people are capable of greatness. But until they get there, it's not easy to see past the doom and gloom. For me, it's changed my life because it's given me a way to try to change the world, however small my niche is.
Do you feel like you're making progress on that? Do you feel like the people turning up to your sermons really are listening and really are improving as people?
Yeah, I do. I made a post about it yesterday. I'm going to read this off to you real quick. And this really made me happy. There's a post on our Twitter. So I said, do me a favor. I'm trying to see something. Comment something you've learned or how your life has changed since finding us. The first comment is the 4-minute mile, the law of the lid, the impact over time, the elephant in the rope. Underneath that, another person, more deep combos with people in this community in 3 weeks than the outside world in 3 years. My favorite one, SCF has literally given me faith in the meme coin space again. It's different. I got rugged 7 times in a row before I got to the church. I was always focused on who the team was paying to shill, or what exchanges they were paying to get the price up. We haven't paid for anything here, and we're still the talk of crypto Twitter. It's fucking special over here. You know, the people that are part of this, they like this one, learn so much. I'm now reading the 10 Scrolls with my younger brothers in real life, and they too are now growing in the spirit of Lord Fishnu. I mean, the amount of like positive reception. I can't speak to you exact metrics, but I think I'm making a damn good difference. Yeah.
On those texts that you reference to a lot in your sermons, where's the best starting point for someone listening to this?
The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. OG Mandino. So basically, the greatest salesman in the world dies, and he passes to his son this chest. In the chest, there are these 10 scrolls. You don't really need the book. You just need the 10 scrolls. And the first one says you're to read each one for 30 days before moving to the next one 3 times a day. And the first one's about, I will form good habits and become their slave. And that's where you start. That's the foundation of what we teach here, are those 10 scrolls. This book was written in like 1920 by a dude that's passed away. But I really feel like books are voice notes left by people who have passed already.
I like that quote. What do you think maybe is a teaching from one of these books, not necessarily one you just referenced, that a lot of people don't have in their life currently?
Like the scroll mark 3, I will persist until I succeed. I will be likened to the raindrop which washes away the mountain, the ant who devours a tiger, the star which brightens the earth, the slave who builds a pyramid. I will build my castle 1 brick at a time, for I know that small attempts repeated will complete any undertaking. I will never consider defeat, and I will remove from my vocabulary such words and phrases as quit, cannot, unable, impossible, out of the question, improbable, failure, unworkable, hopeless, and retreat, for they are the words of fools. I will ignore the obstacles at my feet and keep my eyes on the goals above my head. For I know that where dry desert ends, green grass grows.
Beautiful. How has that improved your life? You said it's the one teaching that's completely changed your life.
I come from the hood here in Houston. I'm not like, I wasn't born on that side of the railroad tracks where the big houses are, right? So like, it hasn't always been easy to choose to keep going. In fact, even as a project manager, I mean, I've tried to launch probably 15, 20, 25 times, and to varying degrees of success failed. But ultimately, persisting until I succeed and trying to see every failure as a lesson has been what makes the whole thing feel like one long victory, which is something that I talk about a lot. I don't think that our failures are failures. They're lessons until you get to the point that in retrospect, everything feels like one big victory.
Zooming out a bit for the church, what are your future plans for the project? Both immediately, but also long term. What's the ultimate goal for the Church of the Smoking Chicken Fish?
So me and a friend were talking, and I think that if you don't have people going, is this real? Talking about what you're trying to do, then you're probably not doing it right. We're going to try to build a church in Marfa, Texas, which has already become kind of a hotspot for crypto. And I think the Art Blocks guys there or something have an NFT gallery. We want to build a real life temple and everything church of the Smoking Chicken Fish, and then potentially like partner with some other brands and organizations and do like a meme convention. But the idea, of course, is to first and foremost build a real church so that it's as serious as it can be and that no one can ever say we're LARPing. But aside from that, I'd like to get to a point where we have such a pedestal that people like Anthony Robbins or Eric Thomas come to our quote-unquote church sessions and give speeches as guests of the show.
About that church, how far along with those plans are you? And what will that church look like? Have you got any ideas of what your design will look like?
We've already found potential property, and the whales have already donated over $50,000 towards the purchase of that property. And then really just the idea just started. I just announced the idea even a few days ago. What it looks like, imagine walking in, the smell of Marlboro just lingering in the air. There's a Marlboro Red dispenser to your right. There's a statue of Lord Fishnu to your left. And you see me casually baptizing Raoul Paul in a tub of broth. Our brothers all around us are brothers and fishters.
What flavor broth? Is it just chicken and fish?
Chicken
Broth. You said you've got £50,000 or dollars, sorry. How much do you need for this whole project? With property and all, probably somewhere around 200, 250, likely a little more, but I think that's the general range. And, as we grow, like once we hit, 500 million, $1 billion market cap, that'll be completely taken care of. Because, like as the pastor here, I still to this moment have no tokens. And that's what's been allowing me to stay away from the corrupting mentality that looking at the chart gives you. But I know that when we get up closer to those numbers, there's more than enough love from the whales and from the other people that have been here since the beginning that we'll be able to get that taken care of. It's just a grind for right now. If you have no tokens, why are you doing this? I need everyone to see, A, that something about me personally, and I need, B, people to understand something about trying to do positive work and that there's a reason to be here aside from money. And my purpose in life is to just try to make things better than I found them. And this is the way that that's manifested right now. Do you have a job aside from this then? I haven't had a job probably in 4.5 years because of this thing called the internet. I've ran like a marketing firm doing drop servicing and press publications for brands and other things. I've been in the trenches day trading meme coins for 4 years. God bless the trenches. I don't really want a job because jobs are a new age form of slavery wherein they stopped creating physical restraints and started creating mental ones. And they use the television to govern people's minds, or otherwise known as the government. So my goal has just been to achieve freedom. And to some extent, I have. What I try to teach or what I try to disseminate to people that are willing to listen is that we're all capable of that same thing. You don't need a job. You need to generate revenue. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me, Pastor Kelby.